Hi, I'm Chris Westfall. Got a lot of information that we need to cover today about what's going on in the world of Medicare, specifically Medicare Advantage. You will want to hear some of this information because it might impact you or someone that you love. First, we're going to talk about my favorite YouTuber, well, one of my favorite YouTubers of all time, consumer advocate out there that this week covered something going on with Medicare Advantage that he typically does not cover. He's a lawyer, and you'll just be fascinated with what he has to say about what's going on with Medicare Advantage. Not just me. The Journal of Clinical Oncology has a new report that compares the kind of care you would get from Medicare Advantage against traditional Medicare or Medicare with a supplement. You need to hear this story. I've said it. This is not me saying it. This is a whole bunch of cancer experts exposing behind the scenes on what kind of care you can expect if you're on Medicare Advantage or on traditional Medicare. And the National Rifle Association has started to pitch a particular type of Medicare plan. Which plan do you think that sought their endorsement and they're being paid to pitch right now? And there's a new Senate bill about Medicare Advantage. We'll give you an update on that. And it could be potentially good news. And also a bill in the U.S. House that could be good news for Medicare Advantage. And you're going to hear some real stories from people that work on the inside, behind the scenes in the Medicare world, and they may impact you. Let's hear what my good friend, I say that in jest because I wish he was my good friend, 𝗲𝗏𝗍, consumer advocate and lawyer, has to say and what he found out about what's happening with Medicare Advantage.
The suit alleges that they're using an AI model that has a 90% error rate and that it just so happens to be denying a lot of coverage. And that's the gravamen of the lawsuit. So United Healthcare is the largest health insurance company in the U.S., and they're alleged to be using a deeply flawed AI algorithm to override doctor judgments, wrongfully deny critical health coverage to elderly patients, and more. It's resulted in patients being kicked out of rehab programs and care facilities too early, forcing them to drain their life savings to obtain needed care that should be covered under government-funded Medicare Advantage plans, for instance. And so, it used to be that AI or algorithms simply decided, what the next ad on Facebook was going to be, or perhaps what video you should watch next on YouTube. But when it starts making life and death decisions about your health, then you might want to get concerned.
Skilled nursing facilities are intended to be a temporary rehabilitation or nursing care facility after a hospital stay. For example, if a person breaks a hip, needs surgery, their doctor generally recommends several weeks in a skilled nursing facility until they're ready to safely go home. If a senior has original or traditional Medicare, they can expect to receive up to 100 days of coverage for their stay with no hassle. If a senior has a Medicare Advantage plan, however, they can expect to receive a denial well before their doctors even say they're ready to go home. This is despite the requirement that's been discussed that Advantage plans must offer the same benefits and apply the same coverage criteria as original Medicare. When a patient first receives a denial, they're thrown into a maze of red tape that is dizzying even to our experienced legal team. The initial denial is made not by the Advantage plan, but a third-party contractor using an algorithm. A computer determines what a patient's predicted length of stay should be based on millions of past beneficiary data points, not the patient's plan of care or the advice of their doctors. Then, at each additional level of appeal, if the patient actually chooses to fight it, the denials are upheld by quality improvement organizations with little to no explanation. If a patient is successful with an appeal while still in the facility, they can expect a new round of denials to start in a matter of days. Patients caught in this maze are forced to make a devastating decision: stay in the rehab facility and pay thousands of dollars out of pocket, or go home against medical advice. In Wisconsin, we have a unique legal services program with attorneys able to take these cases at no cost. When we represent clients at federal hearings, more often than not, the denials are overturned. But this is after months of document gathering, preparation of summary briefs, rounding up witnesses, and a telephone hearing against a team of representatives brought by the Advantage plans if they show up at all. Even if a patient is successful at hearing, it can still take well over a year to get reimbursed. This issue has even hit me personally. This past holiday season, a family member called me and explained that his 89-year-old mother had fallen and was hospitalized and entered a skilled nursing facility for rehab. They'd received a denial after just a week, and they didn't know what to do because her doctor said she still wasn't ready to go home. My first question was, does she have an Advantage plan? When the answer was yes, my heart sank because I knew immediately what this family was going to be up against. After a total of 3 falls, 2 hospital stays, and repeated denials, she ultimately went home against medical advice and decided that the appeals process was too stressful to pursue. Fortunately, this family had enough money to pay for the denied charges and lived close enough to help locate safe housing options and home care. But what does this situation look like for an individual with no family or friends or legal representation? In Wisconsin, the average cost of just one day in a skilled nursing facility is over $300. The individuals who can't afford to stay will likely be advised to spend down their assets, forcing poverty to qualify for the state's Medicaid program. Now, these are not uninsured individuals. These are individuals who have chosen and paid for a Medicare product that was heavily marketed and aggressively sold to them. They're not getting the coverage that they paid for, and they're met with hurdles at every turn.
By the end of my time at 𝗵𝗵𝗱, I realized I'm not an advocate, I'm just a moneymaker for the company, says a woman who's an occupational therapist and former 𝗵𝗵𝗱 case manager. It's all about money and data points. It takes a dignity out of patients, and I hated that. So the algorithm predicts when you'll get better and when they can stop paying. For instance, on a Medicare Advantage plan, patients who stay in a hospital for 3 days are typically entitled to up to 100 days of covered care in a nursing home. But with NH Predict, patients rarely stay in nursing homes for more than 14 days before receiving payment denials from the insurance company. When patients or their doctors requested to see the reports, UnitedHealth has denied the requests, telling them the information is proprietary. Can't show that to you. That's our information. When prescribing physicians disagree with the determinations of how much post-acute care the patients need, their judgments are overridden. And I've heard that complaint a lot, not just with UnitedHealth, but with other healthcare companies, that a doctor will say this is necessary. And the insurance company will go, no, it's not. The doctor says, well, I'm a doctor, and I'm, in essence, looking at the patient right now. I say it's necessary. And a case manager in a cubicle in another state's going, no, it's not necessary. They're looking at a file. They're looking at paper. They're not looking at the patient. And, oh, by the way, they're not a doctor. They're not a doctor. There's a process whereby you can appeal something that they say. So they say, we're not going to pay for this. And you argue and you appeal it, and the appeal goes through and you win. They say, no, okay, that's fine. We're going to override their decision to deny your coverage. And a couple days later, they just deny it again. You see, it turns out that they can issue denials all along the way. And if you want to override them, you have to appeal them all, each and every one of them. So there are all kinds of stories in here. For instance, the family of the plaintiff. And so the sad part about this is that I understand that insurance companies are businesses, and they are there to make money.
Extra benefits like getting money.
They don't make a profit. They'll go out of business. They won't be there anymore. So they have to make a profit. Question is, how big of a profit do you make, et cetera, et cetera. And a bigger concern I have is that if somebody is in need, dire need of medical help, an insurance company ought to be paying it, but they don't pay it. Well, somebody else is going to be on the hook for that money. And so you've got a loved one in the hospital, and they are in dire need of medical care, and the insurance company denies the claim for coverage, and you wind up fighting that and filing appeals and hearings and paperwork and nightmare of just bureaucracy going back and forth. You're doing that while your loved one's in the hospital. And now, here's the thing. I've never gone through this kind of a nightmare on my own before, okay? I've been lucky that way. I have known people very close to me who've spent time in the hospital dealing with quite serious medical issues. And I can remember how emotional it was when I was simply the observer, the family member, the bystander, and I was there visiting somebody in a hospital. And it was difficult just to do that. And it was difficult for all of the close family members to do that. And then you add into the mix, oh, by the way, somebody who's in charge of the family has got to go do battle with an insurance company who's denying claims for medical coverage. And you think about that, and it's Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things in life that you have to deal with that could just happen, okay? Bad things happening. You got to fight with an insurance company because you filed a claim. Could be over your house, over your car, over your business, or anything. But there's also just other situations where you deal with a nightmare, some kind of nightmare. You're fighting with somebody over something, winds up in court, whatever. Do that while your loved one is in the hospital, quite possibly dying. And you realize how painful this can be. And so now the allegation is that United Health is using an AI model, and the lawsuit alleges that it has a 90% error rate. But as I jokingly said in a video the other day, which way do you think the errors go? Towards paying claims or towards denying claims? Oh, what are the odds? It denies claims too often. That's the allegation. So if this is true, it's a very serious problem. But if this is true, they're also making a lot of money by not paying claims. And again, healthcare companies have to make money. The question is, how much do they have to make? And who's making those decisions? I'm just as bothered by somebody who sits in a cubicle who's not a doctor and looks at a file and goes, oh, this person doesn't need this. Meanwhile, the doctor who's on the ground, as they say, in his office or hospital, looking at a patient with his own eyes, going, this patient needs this. I trust the doctor's opinion over the cubicle sitter's opinion. So
the reason why I bring you these stories, these are new stories, by the way, all this stuff is new, is because I want to be an advocate for our clients, and I want you to go in with your eyes wide open. Do we do Medicare Advantage? Yes, we do. Why do we do Medicare Advantage? Because sometimes it's the only thing somebody can get. And if it's the only thing you can get, then we're going to help you and advocate for you and get you on the best possible solution for you. It's also important that you find out about this study. This is a study from the Journal from Clinical Oncology. And what they looked at, these are cancer specialists. They looked at what is the difference, if there is any, between getting cancer coverage through Medicare Advantage, that more than 50% of American seniors now are buying Medicare Advantage plans, or buying because they're mostly zero premium plans. But is there a difference? And if there is, can they tell you what that difference is in an unbiased way? The majority of cancers that are diagnosed in the country, United States, happen when you're over 60 years old. So this is of great importance to seniors.
Cancer care. Given the competition in the Medicare Advantage, MA, market, insurers are devising plenty of ways to stand out in the crowd, ranging from grocery benefits to enhanced dental coverage.
I already have my Medicare card. I am not calling.
But one area that's still lacking in many ways is in cancer coverage. Harlan Levine, MD, president of Health Innovation and Policy at City of Hope, told Fierce Healthcare in an interview at the HLTH conference last month that it's critical for the industry to modernize the definition of parity around cancer. You never see someone going into the market and saying to a Medicare Advantage potential customer, "We have the best cancer program for you," he said. Levine said the incentives aren't yet aligned for health plans to really embrace more expansive cancer care networks. Regulators can, however, step in and help, driving changes to keep up with a rapidly evolving space. What constituted network adequacy for cancer care even 5 years ago doesn't necessarily reflect the reality of how that care is provided today, he said. I think there needs to be, really set standards of what we need to modernize our definition of network adequacy, Levine said, because the field is changing so quickly. City of Hope released a study in November 2022 that found patients enrolled in MA were more likely to be treated at hospitals where physicians had less experience in performing complex surgeries. These patients were more likely to die within 30 days of a stomach, pancreas, or liver removal, according to the study. Patients enrolled in traditional Medicare were more likely to be treated at a teaching hospital, 23% compared to 8%. Medicare beneficiaries were also more likely than MA members to visit hospitals with a higher medium number of total beds, ICU beds, annual inpatient surgical volume, and operating rooms. In addition, the analysis found that MA members faced a delay of 2 weeks or more between diagnosis and their first course of therapy. The City of Hope researchers suspect this is related to the greater prior authorization required in May. Levine said that for the largest insurers, they are able to weather some adverse selection if they do have some additional costs related to cancer care. The highest acuity cancer diagnoses are quite rare, and improving outcomes for these patients could drive savings, he said. If you don't do the right thing, then the gap between optimal care and typical care is going to widen because of the pace of innovation, Levine said. And the gap between the haves and the have-nots, the underrepresented, and the majority is going to widen also.
There's absolutely no agenda for the people that did this study. The Journal for Clinical Oncology. They work with both Medicare Advantage and they work with traditional Medicare. So one of you, the wonderful members of YouTube that watch our information and write in from time to time, sent this in and it said, my husband got a letter from the NRA offering him help with Medicare. This was yesterday. In a letter, they're promoting Medicare Advantage plans only. So I went to check this out because I really want to know, what is it that they're promoting over at the NRA? Did they potentially, possibly, I don't know, get paid off to represent only one type of Medicare? Surely not. So we went here under the life and health part. What did we find? Oh, Medicare supplement. That's cool because Medicare supplements original Medicare. Maybe they're doing both. Maybe they're going to talk about Medicare supplements or Medicare Advantage. But this says, look, the highest rated insurance companies defined by AM Best and Standard & Poor's, Medicare supplement. Why don't you click here now? And what happens when you do? Medicare supplement. Oh, it's going to this site, 𝗍𝗃. I know about 𝗍𝗃. They were publicly traded. Stock was tanking really bad when their call centers selling only Medicare Advantage weren't doing so well. So if we click this and go to that link, what do we find? Lo and behold, they're selling one thing, Medicare Advantage. Well, wait a minute. They said they were offering Medicare supplements to the people of NRA. Nope, just Medicare Advantage, not telling both sides of the story. Interesting, huh? I think it's pretty interesting. And here's a potential bill that's possibly going to come out that's going to be helping seniors. And first, let me set the stage for what the problem is.
Medicare Advantage, and this takes a little bit off topic on this, but the issue with some of my rural hospitals especially, they're getting more and more frustrated with the denials that happen. Just an automatic, it's going to be denied. So trying to get the pre-authorization in process so that they're not going to have denials, or to be able to have a predictability in the process. What we're seeing is literally in my state, we have some hospitals now that just won't take Medicare Advantage, period. They just cut everybody off and said we can't do it because we can't afford the constant chasing for all the denials. So that is exactly the opposite of what we want to be able to create here. What are you hearing on that, and what are alternatives that you would see?
Our goal is always to partner. I mean, we're part of an integrated health system, so I think that really helps us in thinking about the provider's perspective when it comes to a variety of issues, including prior authorization, as you mentioned. But we spend a lot of time making sure we work closely with our rural facilities. It is absolutely imperative, right, that our seniors can get in for care when they need it, and that we're not putting up unnecessary barriers to necessary care. This is a priority for us to make sure that we're partnering, particularly in those rural areas where there's not a lot of options, so that our seniors can get in for care when they need it.
Okay, thank you.
A whole bunch of double speak. And what they're going to be doing is proposing this bill. It is Senate Bill 3059 from 2023. And what this bill aims to do is establish network provider requirements and provide accountability and provider directory accuracy. Oh, wouldn't that be nice? Under, who's got the problem? Under Medicare Advantage. Interesting. So this bill was proposed in October of 2023. And what happened? It was read twice and was referred to a committee on finance. So it's just sitting there, and hopefully this will actually do something good. And here's another Bill, I'll tell you about this after you watch this. This is very interesting. These members of Congress telling you the difference between Medicare Advantage and real Medicare.
Make sure America's seniors know that private for-profit insurance, also known as Medicare Advantage, is not Medicare.
And that's why we've just introduced the Save Medicare Act.
Private health insurance companies get seniors to sign up for private plans rather than Medicare by calling themselves Medicare Advantage.
But Medicare Advantage is neither Medicare nor an Advantage.
These plans seem cheaper or seem to offer additional benefits, but in the long run, they often don't cover the more expensive care that many retirees need.
So we want to stop private plans from calling themselves Medicare
and protect actual Medicare,
making sure seniors' care is covered for the rest of their lives by a program with the power of real Medicare.
So don't be fooled by the commercial gimmicks.
And don't call 1-800-anything.
Get the program you've paid for and earned. Remember, only Medicare is Medicare.
Only Medicare is Medicare.
Only Medicare is Medicare.
Here we have what happened with this bill. It was introduced in the House February 1st, 2023. And after being introduced, it just sat there. It's proposed by a bunch of Democrats who just want accountability, so they don't call Medicare Advantage Medicare, because it is not Medicare. It is a replacement for Medicare. Now, many of your agents are not telling you this. Many of the agents out there are spitting fire. What did they say? Recently, one of them said about watching my videos, it makes their eyes bleed. And the truth will often do that to you when you're not prepared for it. And what you're saying to your clients is run counter by actually the truth, by the oncology study that was done, by the hospitals, by the senators, by the lawyers, by even Steve Leto reading the newest lawsuit about artificial intelligence, which, by the way, just wait till discovery comes out in that case. And discovery is when they unload all of the evidence. If the news about what's happening with Medicare, which may or may not impact you in your life, if they mean anything to you, please share our information. And still, almost 70% of the people that are watching are not subscribed. And sometimes they'll put in comments, which I'm going to show you in just a second, which is pretty revealing about what's really going on, really relevant comments from people on the inside. And they'll ask a question that was literally covered the day before in a video before, but they only saw one video. So I really encourage you, subscribe to the channel if you are on Medicare, about to be on Medicare, or know somebody who is, because you may just provide for them some actionable item that they may get involved with. So please do like this video and take the URL, that's the address at the top of the browser if you're watching this on a computer, and share that with somebody else. Share it in a Facebook group. If you're in a group with seniors or retirees or a club or anybody that's over 65, please share this information, because it's important that they know that there are two different ways you can go with Medicare. See, most agents out there are not sharing that there are two different ways you can go with Medicare. They're only talking about Medicare Advantage. And I just feel that all of our clients that come through here have gotten an education where they understand there are two different ways to go. And this information right here is from the Medicare and You guidebook, where it clearly says you could have original Medicare, like the congressperson just said, that's what you've paid for your whole entire life. Or you could give up original Medicare and go the way of Medicare Advantage, where we've seen from study after study after study what goes on with some people only when you really, really need care. I mean, it's only when you really need care, of things that could potentially happen to you with Medicare Advantage. And you are giving up your right to go without referrals, without prior authorization, because prior authorization is only a function of Medicare Advantage. It is not found on original Medicare. And just for those who may have forgotten, this is not just me saying this. Here's a little snippet from a video put out by the Office of Inspector General from Health and Human Services, so that you know during the annual enrollment period the difference between these two.
Medicare Advantage is the managed care option within the Medicare program. It's designed to provide efficient, high-quality care that improves patient health outcomes in a cost-efficient way. But a new report by the Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Inspector General, found that sometimes Medicare Advantage plans limited access to medically necessary services. To explain this report's findings, here is 𝗲𝗏𝗏.
In this report, we found that Medicare Advantage plans sometimes denied or delayed patients' access to care, even though the requests for services were medically necessary and met Medicare coverage rules. So in other words, the patients likely would have received approval if they had been enrolled in traditional Medicare rather than Medicare Advantage.
These report findings are cause for concern for several reasons.
We have three main concerns about these denials for care that was medically necessary and that met Medicare coverage rules. First, these denials can cause delays or prevent patients from accessing needed health care. And that can be particularly harmful for patients who are critically ill and for whom any delay in care can cause negative health consequences. Second, these denials can cause some patients to pay out of pocket for services that are supposed to be covered by their Medicare benefits. And this can be particularly harmful for low-income patients and those who can't afford to pay for these services out of pocket. And third, these denials can cause an administrative burden for patients and providers who choose to appeal these denials. And even when denials are overturned upon appeal, we found that in some cases, going through the appeals process caused significant delays in patients' access to needed health care.
For more information, visit oig.hhs.gov/Medicare Advantage.
So there's what the government's watchdog thinks about Medicare Advantage, and you just need to go into it eyes wide open. And yes, if you call in here, like many hundreds and hundreds of people have done, trying to get off of your Medicare Advantage plan, that may be possible. You have to go through health questions, and we can walk through that process for you. But it's important also that you know the timing of when you can do what. So you can sign up for a Medicare supplement plan that supplements original Medicare 365 days a year. But on Medicare Advantage, you can only sign up for them during the annual election period. That's October 15th through December 7th. That's the only time you can sign up for a Medicare Advantage plan. If you're on a Medicare Advantage plan, you can get off of it during this period of time. Our calendar's already full all the way through December 7th for doing that. Or during this period of time, from January 1 to March 31, you can either change to a different Medicare Advantage plan or you can drop Medicare Advantage altogether. Please do not do that. We had two of them do that this week and then reach out to us and they said, hey, I dropped my Medicare Advantage plan. Now I need you to get me a Medicare supplement. It does not work that way. There is a process to it, and the process is very, very important that you follow it. If you go to our website, we have a Medicare Help button. And when you click that, there's one of the options there to go from Medicare Advantage to Medicare Supplement. And to do that, you have to do it in a very specific order. You don't want to drop something and then have nothing to catch you underneath. And that's one of the reasons why Medicare Advantage is good. If you cannot get on a Medicare supplement or you didn't save for retirement, you don't have money to do it, and you can't do anything else, then one thing that you could do is get on a Medicare Advantage plan. It's better than nothing. And that's when we're helping people with this. Move over here. This is one of our clients said, when I took my husband to the cancer center and told them that he was no longer on my work insurance, but now has Medicare and a supplement plan in, the first thing they told us was, you are smart people. Thank you, Mr. Westphal, for helping me with my husband's supplemental plan. I have a few more years until I'm eligible for Medicare, but I will be calling you for help with this. There's no way I would jeopardize my health care and bank account with a Medicare Advantage plan. Just one person's perspective. Thank you so much for what you and your team did. You guys helped me tremendously after I talked to several agents pushing Medicare Advantage plans, and that's what I want you to understand. As you're looking for an agent, as you're looking for somebody you can possibly trust in the industry, I want you to just take a gauge and see, do they show you both sides of the coin? Do they show you that page on the Medicare New Guidebook where it says Medicare Supplement, Medicare Advantage? Or when they get to the supplement side, do they simply say that's only for rich people? Real seniors just can't afford a Medicare supplement. Really? How do you know? Because they don't enroll anybody in Medicare supplement. And then they'll put the fear of God in you by saying, oh, but those rates can go up every single year. And you know what I've done for my clients for the last 19 years of specializing in just this one thing? we rewrite them with a different Plan G or a different Plan N with a different company that's more competitive at that time. What does that do? It keeps their rate at the lowest possible that it could be. Whereas if you just went by yourself to an insurance company, you only have yourself to thank when those rates go up and you don't know who to reach out to in the future. Let me show you this one. Chris, I have had 2 surgeries, a biopsy, 12 rounds of FOLFOX chemo for cancer, plus several other procedures. Apparently, I'm not finished yet. Bless your heart. Fortunately, I was on Medicare with a Plan N Medigap policy. Every one of my chemo treatments was well over $10,000. A cancer policy helps, but it is not the sole answer. Certainly not. But if you're on a Medicare Advantage plan, you better have a cancer policy. Cancerplan.us is our website for that if you want to look into a cancer policy. Cancerplan.us. I'll put that in the description of the video because I just thought of it. A cancer policy helps, but it is not the sole answer. Please make sure your clients all know this. You are a very trustworthy agent broker. Make sure everybody knows that a cancer policy is only part of the solution. That's absolutely true. A cancer policy is good to cover those expensive costs on a Medicare Advantage plan, where in most all the plans that I've seen, and we certify for these every single year, they'll only pay for 80% of their approved costs after prior authorization, after the referrals and wait. And you saw that oncology study that said that it's the delays of the cancer treatment based on Medicare Advantage prior authorization that's causing the negative outcome. This one says, thank you for your team. Got me out of Medicare Advantage mess after they rejected my claim. That's awesome. This one's kind of interesting. I wanted to read it to you in its entirety here. I live in Florida. I was never informed that I had a choice between Medicare Advantage and regular Medicare. I thought I had Medicare. I feel so dumb now. Well, you shouldn't. Millions of people are in this same boat. They don't know what they don't have. It has been a nightmare for me as I get Botox for migraines, and you can guess what I go through to obtain the Botox, and the cost to me are equal to a car payment. I have to get an okay for everything I do. Last week, I went to a specialist who was in network and expecting to pay the specialist fee, only to be told that the insurance company had dropped the doctor on November 6th. My $45 visit was now $78.89. I have to go back on November 30th, so I guess I'll have to pay that copay once again. I chose the company because they had my doctors in their network. Thank you for educating us. I just wish I had found you sooner. And those networks can change, just like the senator was talking about. Can people just call Medicare to make sure they have not been changed without consenting? As a nurse, I worked prior authorization for a year. They were trying to use stricter and stricter guidelines to deny services. So the question is, can you call Medicare to see what kind of a plan you're on? There's a better way, and you should be taking advantage of mymedicare.gov. It's called mymedicare.gov. If you go there and you sign up for it, then you can always log in and you can see not only what your coverages are based on Medicare, and you should check that. I would check that like every 3 months to see if somebody just white labeled you right on in and put you in a Medicare Advantage plan. And if they're calling you, asking you questions on the phone, that's primarily what they're doing. They're gathering just enough information to enroll you in their Medicare Advantage plan. You didn't even know it was happening. So you should look at your coverages, see what's there. If you're on original Medicare, you'll see Medicare and you'll see your Medicare supplement plan as your secondary. And you'll see your Part D, your standalone drug plan, as your drug plan component. If you're on Medicare Advantage, you won't see a supplemental company and you won't see your Part D. You'll just see the Medicare Advantage company there. And you should check. If you're applying for Part D for the next year, you should check and make sure that they've got that ready to go, and they will by January 1st if everything works as it should. I know this is sort of a loaded question, but if you have Advantage plan outside the 6 months but have health issues, can you move temporarily to one of the states that don't have underwriting? If this was to work, could that coverage be taken if you move back to the original state? Just a hypothetical, of course. Yes. So to go into that just a little bit deeper, if you were to move to New York State, for instance, you change your address with both Medicare, with Social Security, you move to New York State, or you're intending to move to New York State. According to the Medicare and You guidebook, you can do this a month before you move. You can do this up to 2 months after you move. You can do this of the month that you move. Your intention is to go to New York. You need a zip code. You need an address to get mail. And you notify Medicare and Social Security that you're moving to a state like New York, for instance, or Connecticut. You will then get a letter from your Medicare Advantage company telling you that you've left the network. And so since you've left the network, here's your letter. I call it the golden ticket. That golden ticket says you can now get any other Medicare Advantage plan, and they will try to sell you theirs if they have one in that new state. Or you can go back to traditional Medicare and get a Medicare supplement plan via guarantee issue. If you were eligible for Medicare prior to January 1 of 2020, then your guarantee issue default plan is Plan F, Medicare Supplement. If you were eligible for Medicare on or after January 1 of 2020, your default guarantee issue plan on Medicare Supplement that must take you without health questions is Plan G. So you could get that plan. However, it's important that you know when you go to a state like New York, because they have no underwriting, because they have year-round open enrollment, and the states that do, their prices have been skyrocketing. And that is typical of a state that implements a rule that says the insurance companies can't discriminate whatsoever. And by discriminating, they call that underwriting. And if they can't underwrite you, they're going to charge a lot more money because they're going to be losing money. And that's what they justify with the Department of Insurance. They can't just willy-nilly throw out there that we're going to raise our rates 300%. They have to justify that they've been losing money, show that to the Department of Insurance, and then and only then are they granted the rate increases. But yes, you could do that. Then you could move, hypothetically to a state like Washington, or you could go to Oregon, you could go to Missouri, you could go to now Oklahoma, one of the states, Illinois, that has a birthday rule or an anniversary rule, and you could scale that plan down to another plan like a Plan N, because in those plans, in those states, for the majority of them, you can either get an equal plan to another Plan G or lesser coverage, so like a Plan N, but then you'd be with everybody else that got Plan N the normal way. Glad I found your videos. Your team is amazing. The follow-up, the consultation to ensure I signed up for the right plan, and the aftercare to ensure that I understood my plan was stellar. This is their words talking about our service. And I'm fascinated. I'm sitting at a restaurant with my wife last night. We're just sitting there minding our own business, and I saw I can do for my plan. And my question is, if you're watching my videos and you thank me for the videos because there's something on there that you found trustworthy and it's information that you did not get from somebody else, like all these other experts that I'm sharing with you on an almost daily basis, why wouldn't you give us a chance to be your advocate for Medicare? It just begs the question, because you know that we're trustworthy, we're providing information not found anywhere else. Why wouldn't you give us the chance to be your agent? I've been doing this insurance business since 1994, and I think that experience matters. Having dealt with thousands of seniors with both Medicare Advantage and advocated for them when it hits the fan, or Medicare Supplement, and there is no customer service there, except for shopping the market to make sure that they're constantly on the best plan out there. But that's what we do. We don't do expertise in other things like homeowners and car insurance and the other things. We do have referral partners for things like long-term care, complex life insurance, things of that nature, and investments. But we specialize in one thing, and that is Medicare. I think it's important that you have, instead of a jack of all trades, you have a master of one. And that's what we do. So I encourage you, if you're looking for a Medicare plan, or you know someone who is or will be in the future, please get on our list. And the easiest way to reach out to us is our website. Why? Because the website will literally take you to a place where you can get on our calendar. And what does that mean? If you get on our calendar, then you don't have to wait for a phone call back. As of right now, we have over 1,600 people waiting on a call back, and we're in the annual election period. Everybody's trying to do everything right now. And just for those that are on a Medicare supplement and trying to change it or shop it or go from one carrier to another on Medicare supplement, please get on our calendar after December 8th. Please don't expect a phone call before December 8th. We're trying to help all those people that are on Medicare Advantage that have to do something like sign up for one if they can no longer afford their Medicare supplement and something's gone wrong with their health. They need the best advocate they can have for Medicare Advantage, and that's what we do. So if we can help you, great. It's better if you go to our website and go through the tree and get on our calendar for whatever it is you're looking for. We're here to help. I'll continue to bring you the news, the good, the bad, the ugly, and keep you updated on the news and what's happening with